A little boy is buried grave in this. His name was Walt Vandermeer, and he was 12. He lived in Harlem, and he died in Harlem because he took a needle and put too much heroin into his arm. He wasn't the first child to do this, and he won't be the last, but the youngest on the records of New York City to die of an overdose of drugs. Walter was a handsome boy in this school picture taken when he was about 10. Life in the ghetto had made him tough and hard, but it didn't show on his face. He had been taking heroin for more than a year when this picture was made last summer at a block party on West 117th Street. He looked strong and healthy and happy. But only 4 months later, on December 19th, 2 weeks after, they found Walter dead in the second-floor common bathroom of a tenement on West 117th Street. The medical examiner said he died of an overdose of heroin. He was wearing a Snoopy sweatshirt stamped with the words, "I wish I could bite somebody. I need to relieve my inner tensions." Walter was born at Harlem Hospital on December 1st, 1957. His father, who was from the Dutch West Indies, had jumped ship in New York, and when Walter was 6 months old, was found by immigration authorities and deported. And so Walter grew up without a father in a neighborhood where drug addiction was a way of life, West 117th Street between 8th and Manhattan Avenues, a neighborhood where junkies can be seen on any corner, where drugs are sold openly, where the paraphernalia of addiction can be found on the landings of almost every tenement house. His mother, Mrs. Lillian Price, said on the day after Walter's death that she did not know her son was using drugs. She had come to Harlem from Charleston, South Carolina in 1947. Within a year, she was on welfare and has been since. Besides Walter, she has 9 other children.
My son be out here in the street selling papers for his own fit, for what he see fit to do with his own money, and that other people out here have children. They should stop the drug addicts or whoever giving to them, the grown-ups around here, that giving these children drugs.
In September of 1964, Walter started to school at PS 76. He was absent often, and his teachers soon noticed he was a behavior problem. He would go to sleep in class, or if his teachers tried to make him stay awake, he would become aggressive. When he was in the 3rd grade, at the age of 9, he was suspended from PS 76 without ever having learned to read beyond the 1st grade level, although a teacher said he was intelligent. Walter's best friend, 13-year-old Romero Brown, talked about the days when Walter went to PS 76.
One time we went to a birthday party on 10th Street. We stayed there about till 3 o'clock in the morning.
What happened at the party?
Just dancing, drinking. Walter got in a fight.
Why?
Because a guy kept trying to, overrule him.
Following his suspension from PS 76, the school's Bureau of Child Guidance referred Walter's case to the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. The society brought the case here to family court. His mother asked the court to remove him from her custody because she said he had bad influences at home. The court sent Walter, along with his younger brother Tony, to the society's children's shelter in Queens. After a short stay in Queens, Walter was transferred to the children's shelter on East 104th Street in Manhattan, where he lived for almost 5 months, until August of 1967. Then, for reasons which are unclear, another branch of family court released Walter to his mother's care. This meant Walter was back on the streets and not in school. He was assigned to PS 148, a school for disturbed and socially maladjusted children, but he was absent more often than not. During this period, he spent a lot of time with his godmother, Mrs. Barbara Banks. She wanted to let Walter live with her and her children, but she did not have room in her small and crowded apartment.
Walter, to me, was a nice little boy. I was crazy about him. I wanted to keep him here with me, but I couldn't because I didn't have enough room. I have 5 children of my own. I couldn't keep him here.
Did you know
He's been here from time to time. I've taken him in, I've bathed him, I've bought him little things. I would have liked to have kept him, but I couldn't. I've known him from the day he was born. And I guess I took more of an interest in him because you know a person, you try to help them out. I'm just sorry that I wasn't able to do more to help him.
After 8 months of roaming the streets, family court finally sent Walter to the Wiltwyck School's Floyd Patterson House in Manhattan, a residential treatment center for disturbed children. Walter was here for 2 months and made friends with his new counselor, John Schoenbeck, who is now a reporter for Time magazine.
He was a very, very disturbed child. One of the most difficult to understand and work with that I've known at Wiltwyck, of many, many children. He often got into rages that were just uncontrollable. And they were the kind, a lot of the Wiltwyck children get into such rages, and sometimes it's a sort of an institutional game. They play kind of power struggling with the adults in the institution. With Walter, often it started out that way, but it just went out of control. And at such times, we were really at a loss as to what to do for him.
Walter made progress at Patterson House, and for the first time in his life, he went to school regularly at PS 146. But it was a short interlude. His assignment here at Patterson House was only temporary until room could be found for him at the main campus of Wiltwyck School in Westchester County. The Wiltwyck School has more staff members than it has students, and it boasts of 24-hour care for its children. But in spite of this, Walter managed to run away 4 times.
Ms. Silcott, Walter ran away from Wiltwyck, and yet you have 24-hour supervision on the children here. I understand, of course, that you were not director at the time, but how is it possible for a boy to run away from this school?
This is an open facility. All the cottages are open. Boys can move freely around. And boys run for a number of reasons. This is a pretty distant place from the city. There isn't the comfortable noise of the traffic and the people moving around. And that can be scary for a boy when he first comes to Wiltwyck. And if a boy is inclined to run from problems, he may run. He may run when he's scared.
This brochure about Wiltwyck says the school accepts only those children who are most deeply troubled, those whose problems are so severe that no other agency can or will accept them. But Wiltwyck gave up on Walter Vandermeer. Walter was on the streets again, hanging around a bar on 8th Avenue, occasionally picking up a little money carrying packages at the Ebony Market, but mostly on the streets, becoming a heroin addict. Gabe Pressman talked with a friend of Walter's, a 17-year-old boy who is now receiving treatment for heroin addiction at Odyssey House.
Were you surprised when you heard he had died?
First it shocked me, like, then, you know, then I said I knew it was going to come sooner or later, because he, like, was greedy, take too much.
What do you mean, take too much heroin?
Yeah.
How was that?
They would take more than you know he can shoot.
Like, for instance, what do you mean?
Like, he shoot about, sometimes, like, he can get out shooting 2 bags, and he like to shoot 5. It's 5 or 4.
He shot more than other kids?
Yes, because mainly, he's the only one you used to talk me into. Like, we used to get money. Like, I used to want to spend part of the money on the heroin, then he want to spend all of it on it.
Why would he want to shoot more than 2? I mean, if you were satisfied with 2, why would he want to shoot 5 bags?
I don't know.
Ironically, a warrant had been scheduled to bring Walter and his mother back here to family court on December 19th, 4 days after his death. John Schoenbeck recalls the last time he saw Walter.
I saw Walter. I was getting ready to leave on a trip, and Walter came down to my house and told me that he was having trouble at home. His mother wanted him to stay with a friend of hers, and he didn't want to. And he didn't know quite what to do. And he really looked very bad. His clothes were ripped, and he was dirty, and he looked hungry. He said he hadn't eaten for a while. And he wanted to go back to Patterson House. It was impossible. I wasn't working there. The beds at Patterson House were filled. And I tried to convince him to go to Wiltwyck, which he wouldn't do. He wouldn't go back there. And then I tried to convince him to try talking to his mother again directly about the problem, you know, rather than fighting with her about it. And he said he would try. And then he left, and he called up later on and said that he thought things were going to work out with his mother and that he could stay there. And then he asked me if he could go on the trip with me. And I said no.
What do you think he was looking for?
Somebody he could depend on, some way to know what tomorrow was going to bring, somebody to love, and someone who loved him.
He needed someone to just to take him in and to love him, to treat him good, take care of him. All babies need somebody to take care of him. Kiss him once in a while, pat him on his head, take care of him, bathe him, clean him, look after him. And that he didn't get.